You will not want to miss today's show. It was one of the probably most fun shows I've had in quite a while. Learned a lot about esports. Today I sat down with Bubba Gaedeert, the executive director of the Varsity Esports Foundation, to talk anything and everything esports related. Don't miss it.
This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Everywhere you turn, it's the same old sports talk, the same headlines, the same news, and the same boring information. This podcast is here to change all of that. We bring you hot sports takes, winning sports betting strategy and picks, reliable gaming industry news, and breaking interviews with some of the biggest names in sports business. My name is Ryan Newpel, and welcome to the Noop Sports Show. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Noop Sports Show. My name's Ryan Newpel. I'm here with you each and every episode. Really appreciate everybody listening and tuning in to the show. Today, as you can see, we're on video. We're doing audio. I am joined by a very special guest. I have Bubba Gaedeert with me, the executive director of the Varsity Esports Foundation. He's here with me. Bubba, how are you, buddy?
I am so excited to be here. I'm just ecstatic. I'm ready to talk about sports, ready to talk about esports, ready to talk about the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, whatever. I'm here.
Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. Were you an actual Chiefs fan? So I know you went down to the Super Bowl, but were you a Chiefs fan?
I mean, we moved here to Kansas City about 8 years ago, and we really in Oklahoma, you have to choose.
Yeah.
And so we chose the Chiefs, and we're happy we did.
That's amazing. They had a great run this year, and I was cheering for them too. I'm not a big fan, in general, but when you're in the Super Bowl, you got two teams. You kind of got to choose one and roll with it. And so I was rooting for them. That's who I picked to win. Man, it didn't look good going down to that fourth quarter, but you knew their offense was going to turn on, and it did. It certainly did.
That's what they do. They make you bolder and more anxious as the season and the game goes on. But I feel like, two teams definitely, usually when you're going to the Super Bowl, you are cheering always against the Patriots. So it was nice to have, two good solid teams, right? Or you're always choosing against the Yankees or something, right?
Yeah, for me it's the Cubs in
right.
baseball, but yeah, Yankees, you're right. Well, cool. So you went down there. You went down to Miami. I know. I followed you a little bit on LinkedIn and things
cool.
like that. It sounds like you had a good time down there, I hope.
Yeah, we went down. We actually got asked maybe a month and a half ago. So it's the end of February now. So about a month and a half ago, we connected with the NFL Alumni Association.
Nice.
And they do this 20 years. They've been doing a player networking event where kind of those players who have moved out of the NFL, then helping them find opportunities with careers and entrepreneurship and education. They've been doing that for a long time with a really great group of guys, Ray Ellis and Guy Thrope. They do an amazing job, and so they were actually bringing in some local kids from Miami-Dade County schools, and they wanted to do some STEM learning. So we had Microsoft there and Code Ninjas and some other people in the STEM related fields, and also in STEM, just like we do here at the Varsity Esports Foundation, is STEM learning through gaming. And so we partner with some folks out of Wichita, Midwest Esports, and we brought down some Xboxes and PlayStations and the Nintendo Switches, and had played Madden, played some other games, and we had some NFL players there, like Super Bowl champions, playing with these kids. It was a ton of fun.
Oh, that's amazing. That's super cool to hear. So tell us a little bit more about the Varsity Esports Foundation. I know we kind of jumped right in here, didn't get into what you're doing. Tell us a little bit about your foundation and what you guys are up to in the esports space.
Great. I love to talk about this because I'm passionate. I get to do it every day, right? So the Varsity Sports Foundation, we're a nonprofit organization. We're created to be a pipeline for students with the lens of esports. So we work with ages 3 through 30, whether they be at local YMCAs with esport clubs or centers where kids can play Minecraft, or middle school where they can compete in things like Rocket League, or they can just learn different things with robotics, to high schools where they're competing with our partners, the High School Esports League here in Kansas City, which is in 2,400 schools across the country, or even collegiate. A ton of partners. The collegiate space, there's about 2,000 to 3,000 colleges that have esport clubs, and about 200 of those are actually varsity esport or varsity sport teams with full ride scholarships at most schools. So that's the overview in that side, what we do and who we work with. There's also a lot of stuff we do with the high schools and middle schools to grants for Title I schools, free and reduced lunch schools, low income. We support them we support them with a little bit of funding, whether that be for equipment or for just access, and just kind of breaking down barriers. And then if those students compete in our partners like High School Esports League, then they can win scholarships. We can send it right to their college of choice.
Wow.
So that's the financial side. Then we do a ton
Sure.
on education, awareness, and advocacy. We have free curriculum that schools can use. It's a 148-page curriculum on what is esports, how to do it, how to have better exercise practices, wrist exercises, healthy eating, how to build a computer, how to be a commentator, how to do media, just like you're doing
Sure.
podcasts, like
Sure.
within all that STEM accredited curriculum. And then lastly, just advocacy and awareness, just to give people esports literacy around the community and
So
just amassing awareness.
So cool. So cool what
Mhm.
you're doing. And you know, esports, and I know everybody always says this, esports is booming, esports is coming
Mhm.
up, but it's so true. I mean, if you look at kids these days, I mean, I got kids that are a perfect example, playing Rocket League every day, playing all this stuff. Woke up early this morning, it's 5:30 a.m. for the Fortnite update or something. I'm
Yes,
like,
yep, that's right.
unbelievable. It's just, to me, it just blows my mind, the interest at this young age that we're getting. And as these kids grow up and they continue to progress through their life, I can't help but think this is going to be a huge part of it in some capacity. And I think that's where you guys really fit in, to kind of help these kids understand all the opportunities available in this
Mhm.
space, plus just how they can, I guess, use real life skills and combine all that with the gaming side. And you know, some of the parents out there just think, oh, esports gaming is so bad for us, it's the devil. Well, I disagree, and I think
Mhm.
it sounds to me like you're kind of an advocate for the other side, and you're going to show some positives that come from esports. So pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, right. I tell you why most parents think it's wrong, because we as a society are perpetuating that. I mean,
Mhm.
just we as a society are perpetuating, stay in the basement, drink your Red Bull, eat your Doritos, don't connect with anybody, be in a dark area. Okay. But me, for being in the traditional sports field for 20 years in
Yep.
nonprofit work, I work with a lot of athletes and young ages to college, and we perpetuate for many, many decades that sports are good. You're a star athlete, football player.
Yeah.
It's important. Let's have all sorts of podcasts and TV shows and ESPN and everything around that for many, many years.
Yeah.
And we've got to also understand moderation with anything is
Sure.
important. So I mean, you could go shoot 100 free throws and be addicted, just as much as you are playing Fortnite when it comes out at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So we as a society have done that to ourselves. But yeah, this esports industry is young enough where we get to shape it.
Yeah.
It's still early adoption. We're ending early adoption. So if you're not in now as an organization or as a venture capitalist or an organization that wants to invest, then you're going to miss out soon, because it is growing in triples and quadruples every year.
Sure.
Whether that be spectators that watch the League of Legends event last fall was more spectators that watched the Super Bowl last year.
Unbelievable.
And there's a lot of big money and there's a lot of dumb money, but hopefully us being proactive with the students in the scholastic space, definitely we can help get that generation, that what we call generation esports. We
Hmm.
can hopefully give them the access and the understanding, the literacy to be better adults.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. So a lot of the people listening to this show or watching this show are going to have a betting background. They're going to have a sports
Hmm.
betting / iGaming background. How can you, I guess, relate betting to esports? And is there any correlation from your point of view with the two? Or will they be, I mean, will betting on esports become a pretty big, I guess, market in the future?
Hmm.
You have any insight on that from, I guess, where you sit?
I in my space, in the scholastic space, uh, I definitely don't have the literacy around it enough, other
Mhm.
than just knowing that it's out there and knowing what you do in the sports space. Uh, some of our partners work with Mark Cuban, and he obviously bought the Unicorn
Mhm.
brand, or is involved in it. So somehow with our partners, that's involved, but not really. Um, but that esports betting space, I remember being at a conference 3 years ago talking about
Sure.
esports betting, when esports was still just really huge in Korea and Asia, and
Mhm.
maybe just getting its start in America. I mean, this was 3 years asked. I mean, I know my iPhone here wasn't around 15 years ago, and now this is the 11th version, but tech for esports definitely is growing extremely fast. The betting scene, the conversations we were having then are probably still the same conversations of, well, we can take examples from traditional sports on where the positives are and where maybe the things that we've messed up on,
Sure.
with referees or players or whatever. So how, in the sense of esports, does that amplify? Well, when we have competitive online matches, there's a there's a lot of opportunity to cheat. There's a lot of rules in place, but that's because there's a lot of opportunity to cheat.
Yeah.
When you have live events, like these big events at the Luxor or the Fortnite event in Arthur Ashe Stadium last year, where Bugha won $3 million and he's 16, is there opportunity to cheat because there's people behind him? But those events, maybe there's more oversight. It just, I mean, the referee, the NFL, the NBA referee, I mean, he shaved points. I mean, there's no way. Then that's because with this great correlation that we've just been talking about is, loud people saying loud things about violence in video games is bad, and then loud people saying loud things about why, well, betting in sports isn't great. So it's this noise, and then this trying to find everything we're talking about that's actually important, that's relevant.
Sure. I think that's a great answer. I appreciate that. Hey, one other thing. So from your point of view, you just mentioned Bugha winning $3 million, at this big event. Now, that's not going to be everyone playing esports, but that opens up a lot of kids' eyes and hopefully adults' eyes that there is some money to be made in esports. Give me a little bit, I guess, of your insight of what because all these kids, I see it all the time. These kids are like, oh, I can just get on YouTube and stream myself, and this guy's making $1 million. I'm going to be making $1 million if I get people watching me and followers and all this. What's the reality of a kid making some money playing esports? I mean, is it a real thing, or is that really like kind of like your influencer type thing that has to get there? Give me some of the insight there.
There is a model. There is a model that works now. It may not work in 6 months or it may not work in a year, but there is a model. And I can attest this model because I've seen it in other people and myself. Even my deep dive into esports 2 years ago was me having my own streaming myself. I played Fortnite because everybody's doing Fortnite, but I also do like cartoon character voices. So
cool.
I wanted to be fun and partner with people and just talk in like a Peter Griffin voice the whole time and just make really, really weird content on YouTube. Cool. Like that's fun. But then I found out oh man, I wanted to build my brand on esports. So this formula, I wanted to build my brand and maybe I wanted to learn how to make money. So I learned how Twitch and YouTube and Facebook gaming and how it works. And as I did, I created my own artwork because I'm a graphic designer. So I created my own artwork and people are like, hey, can you create art for me for my Twitch stream? And so then I learned with my marketing background, I was like, okay, well, this is how you brand. So out of that model, I've been involved in a couple hundred different Twitch streamers who've created brands, but seeing where 99 of them are still here because they're got one viewer. And it's because the model is, you should be maybe streaming as a competitive player who wants to make money maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and then taking that content and putting it onto other spaces like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and talking about your brand, just like any other marketing and anything like what you do. You market yourself on different social medias. Sure. So that's the model that needs to work. But if you want to be competitive and make a lot of money, you also need to go to live events and prove your worth by winning some of those. So there's a model in there with branding, financial literacy, which is another initiative of ours for these gamers, because that's something they're all asking. Exactly. I walked up to a group of kids in Atlanta and, I had my suit jacket on. They're all like middle school, high school kids. Like, hey, mister, are you going to sponsor us? Like, sponsor you? I mean, I'm running a nonprofit over here, bro.
Wait, yeah,
like, are you going to sponsor us? Because that's what they all think.
Wearing a suit, baby.
it's just like, I mean, as us kids, growing up, I'm going to be in NFL, NBA, whatever. Sure, this is the new thing for kids, obviously.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's insane. That's insane. I think I read an article, I don't know, this week, I believe, about a high school that, and maybe this is becoming common, you can tell me after this, but a high school actually making it a real sport at the actual school. So somebody could try out, they'll have tryouts, they'll have teams at the, I mean, is that going to be the future in high schools? I know colleges are kind of already jumping on board, but are we going to see high schools having teams that you could legitimately try out for and be a part of?
So this is the esports literacy part. Yes, for the last 7 years, that's actually been happening at the high school level.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and every school, whether they be middle school, high school, or college, all do it differently. Let's just look at the top level, college first. College, it could be a campus life club team, like, or a team of, not even a team, a campus life organization. It can be a recreational intramural sport, or it can be a varsity program with an arena. It could be, scholarships, everything. So different opportunities and venues and what can happen. Athletics also gives them different opportunities, but also like downside of now they got to meet stipulations on the grades, and they got to meet, to go to tutoring. So there's all sorts of weird dynamics there, but that's 3,000 schools that are doing that, colleges.
Sure. Wow.
On the high school space, there's 3,000 high schools that are doing this as well. So our partners, the High School Esports League here in Kansas City, have the market share about 2,500 of those schools all across the nation. It's really fun. You can go to hscl.org, scroll down, and see a pin dot map. And there's all 50 states. Texas has 250 schools there. Florida's like 50. California's 50. And then obviously the big states all over, but it's just this spread of schools. And then their process is similar. It could be an after-school program. It could be potentially maybe a tryout kind of thing as a club, or it could actually be a varsity program at a school with a letter jacket.
Yeah.
This is happening in the middle school space, similar as well. Maybe clubs more often, but then they're all competing. The big thing is almost that whole entire gambit there is overhead cost is so low because it's in school online playing against other schools, rather than me and you getting bussed to our baseball, football, basketball games and just all that expensive stuff involved. So it's happening. So
it's happening, right? And I agree with that for 100%. I'm just wondering, how far away are we from the days where literally I'm talking to my buddy and I'm like, oh, I got to bring Junior to esports practice, and hey, we have an esports game tonight, where it's like like we do with basketball and baseball and football, where it's just a part of the everyday culture. It's one of the sports that every school that we go to each night. I mean, are we close to that spot?
I've got a 14-year-old kid who I helped build his brand last year. He was like 13 points away from being the Fortnite World Cup last year. And his parents are all in. I mean, they're like, they take him to the local Walmart, which has an esports arena in it.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of those popping up. And that's what they do for his sport. So that's one example. But I've got friends like Miguel Gill, who runs United Esports Association group here, and he is passionate about that Saturday morning, just like I'm going to coach my kid's basketball game tomorrow, like Saturday, and he's got a tournament. We're going to put on his jersey. We're going to go to the game, be there early. Same thing. He's like, I want kids to put on their champion esport jersey, and I want them to go to the local land center. I want them to compete. It's happening. Is it going to start happening a lot more? Yes. Is it going to replace a lot of traditional sports? I don't think so. And I'll say this is because in esport clubs at schools, we see the data is 80% of kids play video games already.
Yeah.
So meeting them where they are and giving them a safe space to play is really important, rather than being in their basement with Doritos and Red Bull. We're saying be in a safe space with a healthy environment. And also the kids that are in there, maybe it is the valedictorian and STEM, nerdy kids, how we would say, but it's a kid who has no belonging, who has no other activities they play. It's a kid in a wheelchair. It's a male, a female, black, white. It's a football player. It's a basketball player. So it's another club right now that's an opportunity, just like if you were to join drama, but also be in the football team.
Sure.
So it's not a replacement, and I don't think it will be.
Right.
But technology may advance where we're playing football in 10 years digitally because concussions are so bad. Who knows,
100%. Wow, such good insight, man. This has been one of my most this has just been one of my, I'll say funnest, if that's a word, but one of my funnest interviews I've had. I really enjoy hearing what you have to say. What's for the people listening? I mean, how or why would they want to get a hold of you? Why is there a reason that they may want to reach out to you? Something you're trying to push, something you're trying to get a hold of. Tell us more about that. What your plans are for the future for your foundation.
Yeah, we got a couple campaigns right now for fundraising, and
Okay.
it's fundraising of STEM learning through gaming, whether
Okay.
that be YMCA's to college. It's all STEM learning because we're the only STEM accredited esports organization in the world, and
Amazing.
we want to make sure we're doing the right thing. So we're doing STEM learning through gaming, and we have free curriculum that goes to all these schools.
Hmm.
So at VarsityEsportsFoundation.org, you can actually donate. These campaigns we've got a $1 million campaign for STEM learning. We partnered with what's called the LinkedIn of esports. It's called eFuse. You
Mm.
can go to efuse.gg. They actually were doing a whole campaign on there for scholarships, grants,
Yep.
equipment, opportunities for prizing for students. And then we partner with a lot of apps and tech companies because
Okay.
they want to get in front of all these students we work with, and we want them to because we vet them, because they're cyberbullying apps, they're mental health apps, suicide prevention. We want to get that kind of data and information and accessibility to these students
Hmm.
and these parents, because instead of us creating something and making up a PDF about why esports is good and why you shouldn't bully, let's find people who are doing it right,
Hmm.
put them in front of all the 6,000 schools we work with, which is over 300,000 students that we work with across the country, and help them and support them. So VarsityEsportsFoundation.org is a place you can get connected. We'd love to have support. We really just want to amass awareness about the things we're passionate about so people can start having a conversation.
For sure. So I'll put that link out in the show notes for sure. If they wanted to get a hold of you, is that where they'd
Mhm.
find it as well? Just out on
Sure
there,
can.
contact there and get a hold
Hmm.
of you there.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, I'd urge everyone listening, if you're interested in esports at all, if you have questions, if you just want to engage more with Bubba, go out there, send a contact. One of the great guys in the industry. And obviously, as you can tell from this interview, super knowledgeable, super on top of this space. And Bubba, I really appreciate you being here. Any last words for the audience here before I let you get back to your busy day?
Uh, we'll be in Tampa next year when the Chiefs are playing in the whatever number Super Bowl it is, and so we'll see
Yep.
you there.
Tampa, I will definitely be there. So I want to make sure we get that booked on the appointment
Great.
schedule so I can sit down with you and chat. So, Bubba, thank you. Appreciate it. Listeners, appreciate you guys being here. Until next time, have a great day. Thanks again, Bubba. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Noob Sports Show. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing to our iTunes channel today. Plus, visit us at noobsports.com for more picks, previews, strategy, and news. That's knupsports.com.